Alright, yeah, that was a bit of a long silence there, but here you go. Let's, this has no script. This has no script at all. I am just live building a bridge. Well, not really, but, I'm just going to be using the streaming method to, get them to kind of like upload these, semi-tutorials, I guess. They're more just like, you kind of just follow what I do over time, and you'd figure out sort of how I would build my bridges, because I don't really have any specific manual that discusses how you make any of these bridges, but you'll kind of figure out over time. So today we're going to be building one of those scissor bridges, like one of the scissoring bridges that I showed you a while back in the if you actually watched the compilation I sent for the over-engineering bridge levels, there was a bridge called dual parallel, and that was a scissoring bridge. And essentially what happens is that this road becomes this. And I'm going to show you how to do this, or at least how I did it. So I'm going to first just grab a hydraulic, any type of hydraulic, and just push it forward. That's more than enough. Alright. You kind of just play around for a little bit. Of course, there are much better, more organized ways of doing this. There are probably like very, very strategic ways of doing this. Some of my bridges do require strategy to build them correctly, but this one is just like, do whatever you want. As long as you don't, there is a couple things though. You want to first make sure that you don't want to make this too high, or else it will create a triangle that is too has too wide of a base and too little like height. And it doesn't seem like a problem right now, but remember that everything else is attached to this road, and that can cause a lot of strain to the steel beam here. The hydraulic is invincible, so that's completely fine, but everything else is going to cause a lot of strain. So you want to make sure that when you actually get this down to here, you want to make sure that you don't cause too many issues in that this is going to be ending up too low. So best solution is probably to actually work backwards in this case. So we start by having the actual road already built in the down position. Then we can just retract this, and then we can observe how much road we will need, or hydraulic we'll need, to retract this entirely. And in this case, we just fiddle around with the hydraulics until we actually get something that's correct. So in this case, there you go, pretty much flat. So in this case, what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to align these cameras like this. And now I'm going to... Oh, mind you, this is also I'm maximizing this I'm trying to maximize this hydraulic as much as I can. So then I can actually extend it back out that same amount. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to take that. I'm going to take the sample here, and I'm putting my finger on the screen. You can't really see it, but that's where the first one goes. Next one. There. You only need an approximation in this case. Then you can make a maximized hydraulic, so you actually have the exact same type of hydraulic, but now pushed all the way out. And then I can build a road and connect it with a piece of steel. And there you go. There are tracks. Next, we're going to make the second piece. Second piece is a little bit more difficult because you want to have it so that it counter rotates, or well, it folds in the opposite direction. So in this case, this first road here goes this rotates clockwise. You want this one here to rotate counterclockwise. Now, if I create a system where, let's say, we have a dual linkage. So in this case, we'll have, sorry, not dual linkage? Is that, I don't even know, I don't know what the actual real engineering term for this is, but I'm just calling it a linkage here, horizontal linkages. And as you can see here, it keeps it roughly in place, but you may notice that in respect to this is now this second row is now rotating in the opposite direction. Now, you may wonder, what does the horizontal linkage do? Well, you may notice that this creates a triangle here between these two anchors and that point there. That is going to stay forever in that angle. And this is also going to, this is actually mimicking the same angle as this one. So that's what horizontal linkages essentially do. If you want to create a horizontal linkage where, let's say, you want, because if I demonstrate with another horizontal linkage here, like this, so it's just a small, this one here is just a smaller version of this one up here. You may notice that that now rotates similarly to this one. These are now going to rotate the same way. Well, it's also colliding with rock, but that's the exception there. Now, that we can actually exploit more. So if we increase this, you may notice that it's now not rotating as much. But if we decrease this, it will now rotate more. But you may notice that we're hitting a problem here, where this one and this one are pulling. The reason why this works is because that when this is going down, this is coming in because it's becoming more tense. The problem, though, is that as this goes past that threshold, it breaks. So you want this piece to be lower down, but you don't want it to end up being, you don't want to pull it taut, essentially. The only problem about this is that now you run into the problem of whether or not you're going to have enough. The problem about this is that when you push it farther away, it's not going to end up rotating as much as you would hope, and you want it to actually be closer to allow for more rotation. So in this case, what that means is that you want this to actually go overhanging. In this case, so then when this is almost vertical, this is still more than enough over it. Because if you're over here, that's going to grow very, very taut, and that's going to become basically a really, really slim triangle, and you don't want that. So you want it to be so that the final angle creates a decently thick angle, a triangle with a decent height. So in this case, let's play around again. So let's try this. Too much. Ooh, okay, that's very, very close. I don't think we want to risk that. Well, let's actually try this. Let's try this. Okay, that kind of is getting there, but not quite. So what you can actually do in this case is now we can actually push this underneath the road, and that now actually gives us even more space, which is good. Only problem is, you may notice here, that creates a bit of a triangle. Now, look, in this case, we're treating this here and this here as an anchor point, and this is the extension out off of it. Now, for now, we're just going to leave it be. If it works, it works. But if it ends up being too heavy, we'll have to go back to edit it. So let's do the third road. We did this linkage earlier, I deleted it, but we're going to put it back into place because it seems fairly simple. Ooh, now there's a problem. It breaks. But why? Well, if I slow this down and pause it right here, this road right over here is weighing downward. It's weighing downwards, which wants to make this rotate. This node right here, it wants to rotate. But this one's trying to stop it from rotating. But once you reach this type of point, it really can't do much to change between it pushing past that point. Which is why, when you reach past horizontal, this is now actually folding more than it should be, and this one's not even done folding. past, and then it breaks the road. So to fix this, we can create a more rigid body by creating something known as or at least what I like to call it, a prism. So in this case, it works exactly the same, but now you may notice that you now have essentially 3 different parallelograms here. So there's one there. Oops, that's a road. There's one here. Hang on, let me use the highlight tool. There is a parallelogram here. There's a parallelogram here. And there's a parallelogram here. All 3 of these kind of basically make sure that each parallelogram is in check. So whenever one specific parallelogram, like for example this one right here, is already like all the way flat, this parallelogram here and this parallelogram here are making sure it doesn't fold past itself. So that one's fine. This one, same thing. This parallelogram here is nearly flat, but this parallelogram here and this parallelogram here are keeping that in check. And it allows it to stay in place. So, now what we can do is just add the final piece of the road. And now, it's completely fine. And now lastly, we need to do the last road. Last road, we're going to just take the angle of this one. We want to copy that angle and put it into here. So, let's just do a simple little one like this. If it works, it works. Ooh, now that is a problem. That's breaking. And that's bad. That's what I was talking about earlier, where this is actually going to put too much strain and cause it to fail. If I bring this higher up, now it's not going to have that problem. But then, of course, we're going to have to make sure that this even works in the first place. So we gotta play around. We gotta again fiddle around a little bit, find what is going to perfectly match us. That works. So now I'm just gonna do that. You can actually offset. You don't always have to make these prisms, of course, because sometimes they don't actually have to fold that far to finish off. So if I do something maybe like this, or maybe even like pushing it all the way back, like almost like to the point of making it like that, you can actually make it. It kind of just works. The only problem is that it can cause other parts to break. So your best chances are when you just make a parallelogram, like you just make an extra 2 parallelograms like that to make a prism. Now you want to make, now if it breaks like that, double check that your prism's actually it has 2 equilateral triangles. Otherwise, no, not equilateral, congruent triangles. Otherwise, it's gonna break. So there you go. Fold in and fold out. So now all you have to do left is just flip it to the other side. Split join the middle, and there you have it. There is your dual parallel bridge. Now, of course, it's mildly flimsy, as you can tell. So you can probably strengthen some areas. Now, this is also extremely over budget, and a lot of these things can probably be converted to wood if you really want to. But I'm not really here to teach you how to make things under budget. That's entirely your choice if you want to do so. But otherwise, that is all I have to show you for this one. I'll probably be doing one live recording per bridge. If one ends up being so short, I don't know. I'll end up just like throwing 2 bridges together into one recording. But anyways, that should be about it. I don't have a script in front of me, so I'm just gonna end the video now. I don't have any outro just scripted or anything. So have a good day, everyone.